coming up on how do they do it. Today we take a closer look at quarry operations, from how raw rock is blasted, transported, crushed and graded to its final product. But first, we take many things in the material world for granted, not realizing or appreciating their presence or value. Construction materials that make up the material world around us come into this unconscious category. Though you see buildings, roads, footpaths and bridges every day, it's almost certain that you have never thought about what the materials are, what they are made of, or where they come from. So, how do they go from this all-natural land, to this open quarry mine, that is 110 meters deep, about 500 meters wide and still growing each day? All now, on how do they do it? There are many ways in extracting rock. The most common way to do this is probably by blasting. Rock blasting is the controlled use of explosives to excavate, break down or remove rock. It is practiced most often in mining, quarrying and civil engineering construction. In mining, the result of rock blasting is often known as a rock cut. But before any blasting can take place, a few important steps are needed for any of this to commence. Before blasting, an acceptable area needs to be chosen, a proper survey needs to be done, and then compared with the detailed computer simulation drawings. After the face profiling to survey and the site is marked out, the drilling contractor arrives. Using an air-operated drilling rig, he drills the number of shot holes required, at the marked spots corresponding to the holes' positions on the blast design, at the angles and depths required. After the shot holes have been drilled, they are surveyed to check that they correspond to the blast design, and the two surveys are combined, to allow the blast engineer to work out how each shot hole is filled with explosives. On the day of the blast, the explosives are delivered and taken to the site. Detonator cord is placed in each hole, and the holes are then loaded with high explosives to within a few meters of the top. The remaining depth is stemmed with quarried dust or fine aggregate. The placement of explosives is professionally planned to ensure that the required fragmentation of the rock is achieved with the minimum environmental impact. The site is cleared of all personal, equipment and site vehicles. Sirens are sounded 5 minutes before blasting to make sure that everyone nearby is warned. The detonators are connected to the electric trigger wire and the circuit is checked. A final safety check is carried out and a final siren is sounded. Only when the final all clear is given, blasting can commence. Blasting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And this is all that is left, one big pile of rock ready to be transported away to the crusher. After the blast, the face and show pile are inspected to check that all the shot holes have fired correctly. The face shovel or loader then tidies up the show pile and starts to load the dumper trucks that take the rock to the crusher. Boulders which are too big to go through the crusher are set to one side for secondary breaking at a later date. Crushing can be done in 3 or 4 stages: primary, secondary, tertiary and, in some quarries, a quaternary 4th stage. From collecting the raw material from the blasting site, the truck is reversed at the crushing point. Once the crusher operator gives the all-clear signal to the truck operator, he starts dumping the material into the crusher. Large boulders are crushed and broken down into smaller rock pieces. During the dumping of the rock, a water sprayer is opened, and by damping the dust, the crusher operator has got a better line of sight. This will help him see the rock being crushed, and to react to a problem that may occur. Here we can see a cone crusher going to work, on rock only blasted a few minutes ago. When big rocks are fed into the crusher, and it gets stuck, it is moved by the crusher operator with a mechanical arm, fitted with big jackhammer. If two large rocks are fed into the crusher, the operator can switch on the jackhammer, and break the large rocks into smaller pieces that will fit into the crusher. Conveyors are like the veins in our bodies. Without conveyors, life would be very difficult in a quarry. Most conveyors are controlled and monitored at the crusher station. Once the rock is crushed to a specific size, it will fall down onto a conveyor and then transported to a stockpiled area, when it will be picked up by another conveyor and moved to the secondary crusher or to the grading station. Here rock can be seen moved and stockpiled, from the primary crusher at the bottom of the quarry to a stockpiled area at the top of the quarry. A secondary conveyor at the bottom of the stockpile then transport crushed rock to the secondary crushers for further crushing the rock into its final sizes. For secondary and tertiary crushing, the rock is moved by conveyor to their separated buildings. Rock arrives more or less at sizes of 35 mm, and is too large for any uses in the construction business. Thus, more crushing is needed to reach the final size. The cone crusher used to this is the same as the primal crusher, but scaled down, as the rock is a constant size and does need a large hopper and cone to crush the rock. After final crushing of rock, it is moved by conveyor to the sizing house. Crushing will leave rocks in different size and will be needed to be sized and classified in its different sizes. The sizes the quarry produce is 26.5, 19, 13.2, 9.5 and 6.7 millimeters. Other sizes can be ordered on demand, as any size of rock can be obtained. Sized mesh grids is laid down on a vibrating bed from the largest sized grid of 26.5 mm openings to the smallest sized grid of 6.7 mm. The rock is received at the sizing house by conveyor and dumped into an hopper bucket. Rocks spread evenly on the vibrating bed, and as the bed vibrates, the rocks is moved along over the sizing grids. Rocks passes through the grids into separate hoppers and are conveyed away for stockpiling. After classification of the rocks, and it is checked by the labs that the sizes and quality is consistent, it will be moved to an open area for storage. This is called the stockpile area. Here the different rock sizes are conveyed, or trucked to an marked area, ready for collection by the contractor. And finally, as the stone is needed by the contractor, an order is put in for the size and the quantity. Stone is collected from the stockpile area and loaded by a digger loader on a loading truck. The truck drives off to the weighing point, where it is checked if the quantity is correct. A document is printed out with all the detail of the delivery, from the size, type, quantity, date, person responsible for delivery, truck details and time departed, and then it is just up to the contractor to build some structures. So next time you're on site, busy building something, and you see those small stones, take a moment and think about all the planning and hard work that has gone into producing those stones. And that is how they do it.